All right, you sick fucks, welcome back to the deep dive. You know that train wreck fascination we all have with dictators? Well, strap in, because today we're diving headfirst into the genetic cesspool. That is Hitler's family tree. And trust me, it's a wild ride.
It makes the Jerry Springer Show look like a Disney movie.
We're talking paternity scandals, incestuous whispers, and enough family drama to make the Kardashians blush. And our source for this shit show, Wikipedia. Where else can you find such a meticulously detailed entry on the fucked up ancestry of a genocidal maniac?
It is a treasure trove of information.
So let's cut the crap and get right to it. Even Hitler's name is a mystery. Hitler.
Hitler!
Sounds like they were naming kids based on who lived closer to a damp patch of moss.
It's true. The name itself points to these very humble rural origins, and the different variations reflect dialects and spellings common at the time, not exactly the imposing moniker you might expect for a future dictator.
Yeah, Adolf Hitler doesn't exactly scream world domination. And speaking of shaky foundations, let's talk about the granddaddy of them all. Or should I say granddaddies? We got Johann Gorg, the official sperm donor. But then there's this shadowy figure, Johann Nepomuk, the step-uncle, who supposedly did the dirty with Hitler's grandma. So what's the deal with that?
This isn't just juicy gossip. This paternity dispute actually had legal and financial implications. We're talking rural Austria in the mid-1800s. Inheritance laws were a big deal. And Johann Nepomuk raised Alois, Hitler's father. But whether he was the biological father or just the stepfather, that was a question that directly impacted inheritance rights.
So basically, little Adolf might have grown up wondering if his grandpa was actually his great-uncle. Talk about a mindfuck. Did this whole paternity clusterfuck affect Alois's relationship with his son?
It's impossible to say for certain, but growing up with that kind of uncertainty, that shadow of illegitimacy hanging over you, it could definitely mess with a kid's head.
And let's not forget, Alois Sr. wasn't exactly winning any Father of the Year awards. The guy was a walking, talking midlife crisis. Multiple wives, a penchant for younger women, enough red flags to start a communist parade.
While multiple marriages were more common back then due to higher mortality rates, Alois' behavior was still considered scandalous even by the standards of the time. He had a reputation as a harsh disciplinarian and a bit of a womanizer.
And his poor wife, Clara, was stuck right in the middle of this shit show. Imagine being married to a guy who might be your cousin, or maybe your step-uncle. Talk about a family reunion you'd want to skip.
Clara's situation was incredibly difficult. Regardless of the exact biological connections, the power dynamics in that relationship were clearly skewed. She was significantly younger than Alois, she had little say in the matter, and she bore the brunt of his volatile temper. And to top it all off, they lived in poverty and were constantly moving around.
It's like a country song gone wrong. Poverty, a wandering eye, and enough family secrets to fill a season of Mallory. But it gets worse, right? Because the Hitler household wasn't just messy. It was downright tragic. Did they lose a bunch of kids?
Tragically, yes. Out of Clara and Alois' 6 children, only Adolf and his younger sister Paula survived to adulthood. Infant and child mortality rates were sadly common in those days. But to lose 4 children in such a short span of time would have been devastating even by 19th century standards.
Holy shit. Imagine being Clara, stuck in a miserable marriage, constantly pregnant, only to watch most of your kids die. That's some next-level trauma. And you have to wonder how all that death and grief affected young Adolf.
It's impossible to say for sure, but it's reasonable to assume that growing up surrounded by death and suffering would have had a profound psychological impact. It's something we'll definitely want to revisit as we delve deeper into Adolf's formative years.
All right, folks, buckle up because shit's about to get really weird. Next up, we're tackling Hitler's love life or lack thereof. And let me tell you, Freud would have a field day with this one.
Welcome back, everyone. Now, where were we? Ah, yes, about to dissect the dumpster fire that was Hitler's love life.
Let's be real. The guy was a walking red flag. Control freak, obsessed with racial purity. Probably couldn't get a date if he tried. So what kind of woman would actually fall for this fascist fuckwit?
Well, the answer is complicated, and in some cases deeply disturbing. We have to remember that Hitler, despite all of his flaws, and his abhorrent ideology became incredibly powerful, and that kind of authority can be intoxicating, especially for certain types of people.
So power is an aphrodisiac. No surprise there. But before we get into the whole dictator chic thing, let's talk about the one woman who seems to have genuinely captivated Hitler. Jelly Robbal, his half-niece.
The relationship between Hitler and Jelly is one of the most controversial and speculated upon aspects of his personal life. Jelly was the daughter of Hitler's half-sister, Angela, and she came to live with him in Munich when she was just 17 years old.
Hold up. His half-niece. Talk about keeping in the family. That's some seriously messed up shit. Even for Hitler.
The exact nature of their relationship remains a subject of debate. Some historians argue it was purely platonic, while others suggest it was far more intense, and possibly even sexual. What we do know is that Hitler was incredibly possessive of Jelly, controlling her every move, and isolating her from her friends and family.
Yeah, that's not creepy at all. And surprise, surprise, it didn't end well. Tell us about Jelly's mysterious death.
In 1931, at the age of 23, Jelly was found dead in Hitler's Munich apartment, from a gunshot wound to the chest. The official ruling was suicide, but the circumstances surrounding her death have always been shrouded in mystery and fueled endless speculation.
Suicide my ass. The guy was clearly obsessed with her. And when she tried to break free, he snapped. It's practically a Lifetime movie waiting to happen.
While it's tempting to jump to conclusions, we have to be careful about ascribing motives based on speculation. There's no concrete evidence to suggest foul play, but it's understandable why Jelly's death has become such a focal point for conspiracy theories and historical conjecture.
Fair enough. But let's be real. Even if Hitler didn't pull the trigger himself, he's still responsible for creating a toxic and controlling environment. That ultimately led to Gailey's tragic demise. Talk about a fucked up love story.
What's particularly intriguing is how Gailey's death affected Hitler. He was reportedly devastated, falling into a deep depression, and even contemplating suicide himself.
So the guy who would go on to orchestrate the deaths of millions was heartbroken over one woman. Talk about irony.
It's a complex and disturbing paradox, but Gailey's death seems to have had a profound impact on Hitler, shaping his worldview, and perhaps even fueling his rage and resentment towards the world.
Okay, so we got the creepy Uncle Niece situation, the tragic suicide, and the dictator's broken heart. But Hitler's messed up love life didn't end there, did it?
No.
Tell us about Eva Braun, the woman who eventually snagged the Fuhrer's cold, dead heart.
Eva Braun entered Hitler's life in the early 1930s, and their relationship lasted until their joint suicide in the Führer bunker in 1945. Unlike Gally, Eva seemed content to play the role of the devoted mistress, accepting Hitler's demanding schedule and his refusal to be seen with her in public.
Wait, so she was basically the OG side chick. What kind of woman puts up with that kind of bullshit?
Eva was young, impressionable, and clearly enamored with Hitler's power and status. She was also deeply embedded in the Nazi social circle, sharing their ideology and enjoying the perks that came with being close to the Führer.
So she was basically a Nazi trophy wife. I guess some things never change, but let's cut to the chase. Did they ever actually, do the deed?
The physical nature of their relationship has been the subject of much debate and speculation. Some historians believe it was a purely platonic arrangement, while others point to eyewitness accounts and circumstantial evidence, suggesting a sexual relationship, albeit one that was kept strictly private.
I'm calling bullshit. They lived together for years, spent countless nights alone in the bunker, and she was totally devoted to him. Come on, something had to be going on under those Nazi bedsheets.
It's certainly possible, even probable, that their relationship was physically intimate. But in the absence of definitive proof, it remains an open question.
All right, fine. Let's leave the bedroom antics to the historians.
Ugh.
But there's one more juicy tidbit I can't resist. The rumors about Hitler's illegitimate children.
Ah, yes. The whispers of secret offspring and hidden lineages. These rumors have persisted for decades, fueled by speculation, circumstantial evidence, and a healthy dose of wishful thinking.
So is there any truth to these rumors? Did the Führer secretly spawn a brood of mini Hitlers?
The most well-known claim involves a French woman named Charlotte Lovejoy, who allegedly had a brief affair with Hitler during World War I. They supposedly had a son, Jean-Marie Laret, who later claimed to be Hitler's offspring.
A secret love child. That's some Maury Povich shit right there. Did they ever do a DNA test?
There have been attempts to prove or disprove Lauret's claim, but the evidence is inconclusive. Some physical resemblances have been noted, but without definitive DNA evidence, it remains an intriguing, but ultimately unproven possibility.
So the mystery continues. What about other potential mini Hitlers? Any more secret offspring lurking in the shadows?
There's another, even more outlandish rumor involving Unity Mitford, a British socialite who was part of Hitler's inner circle.
Wait, a British Hitler baby? This just keeps getting weirder.
Mitford was a devoted Nazi sympathizer and reportedly had a close relationship with Hitler. After she attempted suicide following Britain's declaration of war on Germany, she returned to England and spent time at a private maternity home.
Okay, so we got a Nazi-loving socialite, a secret pregnancy, and a mysterious maternity home. This sounds like the plot of a bad soap opera.
Exactly. And like any good soap opera, the truth is shrouded in mystery and speculation. There's no concrete evidence to suggest Mitford gave birth to Hitler's child, but the rumors persist.
Well, there you have it, folks. The Hitler family. A twisted tale of dysfunction tragedy. And more than a few unanswered questions. We've covered a lot of ground here, but I'm sure there's plenty more to uncover.
Absolutely. The Hitler family saga is a complex and fascinating one, and it continues to intrigue and disturb us decades after the fall of the Third Reich.
So after wading through that incestuous swamp of a family tree, are there any little Hitlers running around today, nervously sweating every time they have to give their last name at Starbucks?
That's where things get interesting. Hitler himself never had any acknowledged children, and most of his close relatives either died during the war or kind of conveniently disappeared afterward.
It's almost like the family tree. Decided to self-prune its most rotten branches. So no direct descendants. But what about the extended family?
Yeah.
There's got to be some distant cousins out there, rocking the unfortunate surname. Imagine being that kid in school.
Yeah.
Well, my great-great-uncle Adolf. Yeah, he was kind of a dick.
There are distant relatives, but the most direct living descendants come from Hitler's half-brother, Alois Jr. His son, William Patrick Hitler, emigrated to the United States and had 4 sons of his own. But get this. They reportedly made a pact to never have children.
Wait, seriously? They basically said, fuck this genetic legacy, we're out. That's some hardcore family planning right there.
It's a decision that speaks volumes about the burden of carrying that name. Imagine the weight of that legacy, the constant scrutiny, the inevitable comparisons to one of history's greatest monsters. It's understandable why they'd want to break the cycle.
Yeah, I wouldn't want my kids inheriting Hitler's DNA, along with his shitty mustache genes. So does that mean the Hitler family tree is officially dead?
Yeah.
End of the line. Can we finally close the book on this sucked-up chapter of history?
Not quite. While those direct descendants chose to end their bloodline, there are still more distant relatives scattered around the globe. But most of them have chosen to live these very quiet, anonymous lives, changing their names, blending into the background. It's almost as if they're trying to erase their connection to Hitler, to scrub that stain from their family history.
Can you blame them? Who wants to be that guy at the BBQ who has to explain why he's related to the dude who started World War II? Talk about a conversation killer.
It's a unique and tragic situation. These individuals are forced to grapple with a legacy that they didn't choose, a name that carries the weight of some of humanity's worst crimes, and yet they're just ordinary people trying to live their lives, forever tethered to this dark and disturbing past.
So they're basically stuck in a real-life episode of Who Do You Think You Are?
Yeah.
Only way less glamorous and way more fucked up.
Exactly. And it raises some fascinating questions about the nature of family legacies. How much responsibility do we bear for the sins of our ancestors? Can we ever truly escape the shadow of their actions? These are questions that continue to resonate, not just for the descendants of notorious figures like Hitler, but for all of us, as we grapple with our own family histories and the complexities of the human experience.
Well, folks, there you have it. We delved into the twisted depths of the Hitler family tree, from its murky origins to its self-inflicted demise. And what have we learned? Family can be a real bitch, especially when your great-uncle decides to become a genocidal dictator.
The Hitler family saga serves as a chilling reminder that even the most monstrous figures come from somewhere. They have families, histories, and complexities that defy easy categorization. And while understanding their origins doesn't excuse their actions, it does offer a glimpse into the human side of evil. A reminder that darkness can lurk in the most unexpected places.
Well said. And on that cheery note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into the world of the Hitler family. Until next time, remember, folks, choose your family wisely. And for the love of God, do your genealogy research before you start handing out those Christmas cards.